G'day guys, welcome back to another video. So today I've got something pretty exciting I want to talk about. I found these patents of a new cube from GAN. So assuming they're going to continue with their naming lineup, this could possibly be the GAN 13, 13 Pro or 13 Air or whatever they want to call it, but it might be the 13 version. In this video I'm also going to talk about a new cube called the TaoCube, but I'm going to talk about the GAN first. So in these pictures, it seems like GAN is doing something really quite bizarre with their corners. It seems like this new cube isn't going to have corner magnets like we've seen in other cubes that are connected to the core. Instead, we're going to have some sort of ball mechanism with a spring. It looks like the pieces are going to actually have a spring inside them instead of just a magnet, because if you have a look at this picture, it seems like the core has these sort of indents that are possibly connected to this ball that goes into the center. And it kind of looks like when you push on the ball at the end of the piece, it actually expands the piece somehow. I'm not entirely sure what this means for the mechanism, but honestly it seems a bit unnecessary, and it actually seems like it might make it a lot heavier because, you know, more pieces, all these springs and moving parts inside every single corner. I feel like it's going to be a bit excessive, but you know, it might be really lightweight materials and we'll see what it actually does. But for now, this is all we've got. It seems like there's a new adjustment system inside, but it doesn't really look that exciting. They might actually be getting rid of what their more complicated ones to make sure that this part in the corners is less complicated. But if you look down here, there's actually a piece that initially I thought was just going to be like a maglev kind of thing. It looks like a few magnets stacked on top of each other, but this is actually a piece from inside the core. It's an excerpt from this part of the patent here, meaning that there's going to be 8 of these parts that are all connected to the corners. I don't know if these are springs or magnets or anything like that, but it looks very bizarre. I don't really know what this is going to do, so it might actually mean that every time the ball clicks into these circles, like it would just like a magnet, it sort of presses down into the middle, maybe making it more stable. You know, the balls might actually be magnetized as well. So it might be a moving sort of magnetic system, which could be really interesting to see what actually happens. There's also this other image that has a ball inside that might actually be something to do with the edges as well. The edges might have their own spring inside them as well. They were one of the main competitors when it came to the maglev, and now they're just going back to springs, which I find really interesting. I know they have that in their Mirrorblocks cube, but that's just because it was a non-WCA and it didn't really matter. But, you know, we'll see how this turns out. So that's it for the GAN cube, but I want to talk about this new mechanism that's actually really interesting. It's from a TaoCube. Now, you might actually remember it was around 2020 when this TaoCube brand came out with their Light M cube. It wasn't that well received because it was pretty generic and kind of mid-range, meaning that it wasn't a budget cube, so no one really wanted to get it for that reason, but it also wasn't good enough to compete with, say, GAN or Moryu at the time. But this mechanism is just insane. I actually don't understand what's going on. Either it's some sort of self-moving contraption, or it's a smart cube, like an AI cube or something like that. However, if you further inspection, this core doesn't actually make any sense. It seems to have core magnets with the corner pieces here. However, if you notice, the rods that are actually connected to the pieces that turn on a cube aren't actually connected to any of these gears. It doesn't really make sense because you're not twisting the corners and the edges don't twist either. So it kind of seems a bit unnecessary, but I guess we'll see what happens, because right now all those gears just seem redundant and just a waste of space. Although I don't know if they're trying to do some rotating magnetic sort of system that, like, each time you turn the cube, a magnet rotates, maybe making room for a different type. It might just be a way of adjusting something in the core, but I don't know. I'm going to be watching this one closely because I'm really eager to see what this actually means. So I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on these two mechanisms, and if you think they're actually going to make any sort of difference, because maglev doesn't seem to have done anything recently, and last cube I reviewed like this was the Peak cube, and no one really cared about changing the tiles. So we'll see how these ones go. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.